Halftime, Matt Jenkins, Maddie T, give you a quick score update. The Razorback women's basketball team, 7.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, up 27-9 against Oral Roberts right now. Again, you can find that on the SEC Network Plus channel or on the Arkansas Razorback website for here, the web stream with our very own Phil Elson. That is why Phil's not here today, so it's a double Matt special. And let's bring one of our favorites on the fold, the publisher of Hogs Illustrated, Clay Henry, joining us here on Halftime. Clay, how are you today, my friend? I feel like I just talked to you 3 hours ago.
It was recently. Yeah. It's, I mean, I'm not going to do afternoon with anybody, so
Good.
this is it for me. I don't do that afternoon show.
I don't blame you. Well, I know.
They haven't ever asked me, so I should be honest. They probably don't want me.
Well, I know we were talking.
You know what?
What's
Actually,
up?
I did do them one time. They did some kind of a throwback show. It seemed like a year ago, and I went in the studio with Zach and Derek, and they treated me very nicely.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're Clay Henry. We got to treat you nicely.
Yeah, I mean, but we talked about the old times. I can do that very easy. You know, I can talk about old time stuff. So I'm ready, Matt. Fire away.
Let's rock and roll with it. Obviously, we started off the show with this, and we'll just get your thoughts on this real quick. It was announced prior to the show, Nick Saban, the head coach at Alabama, has again tested positive for COVID-19, and he'll be out this weekend for the Iron Bowl, will not be coaching. It is quoted from Bleacher Report and from ESPN that he is experiencing, quote, very mild symptoms. So, Clay, I mean, it's the second time around for Nick Saban. Hopefully, maybe this one is a false positive as well, but does this in any way, in your mind, change the aspect of the Iron Bowl? Does that give Auburn a little bit of an edge with no Nick Saban?
Well, I think that, the leader of your team, we'll go back to the Arkansas-Florida game. There are things that the head coach does, and somebody else is going to have to do them, and it just changes the dynamics of the way a game flows. And he is a demonstrative leader, and to take him out of that situation, it does change it. You have somebody else in charge. You have somebody else that has to make those decisions, and he's made them awfully well. And I'm talking about, when do you go for fourth down? When do you have, it's everything that a head coach does. So it's, it changes it. Alabama still has the best players.
Absolutely.
That's the key part.
And maybe this will keep Auburn maybe Auburn will cover the spread a little bit more, because I think regardless, Alabama should just talent alone roll through this matchup.
Yeah. I think Auburn's playing a little better. And when Arkansas saw them earlier this year, I thought their offensive line was in disarray, and that's a big part of what they do. They're a power running team. They've gotten a little better there. They've been a little bit better on defense. I think they're healthier. That makes it a 3-touchdown game instead of a 4-touchdown game.
Yeah,
I think Alabama wins.
You're probably right. Also, real quick, I'm going to get your thoughts on this as well. Pat Smith Radio, this is coming out of Birmingham, Alabama. According to his sources that he has, barring further cancellations, the Arkansas-Alabama game will be moved to December 12th, and Bama-LSU will be December 5th. So hopefully the Razorbacks are still able to get their 10 games in and get to play the Alabama Crimson Tide and I know you and Ty had a fun little back and forth with this matchup, and I don't know how to gauge Arkansas's chance against LSU, but I think that might be a barometer of where you want this team to be in the Sam Pittman era here in the next 3 or 4 years. Well, yeah, and I think it's probably a good thing for Arkansas. I mean, I think they've got some injuries, and now that still doesn't answer the question of where they play Missouri.
Right. Will it be probably the 19th would be my guess, and then you have Thanksgiving. The players have gone home. They come back. You got to roll through another, round of tests, a day or two. So the Arkansas would not be completely out of the woods to play next week. I'm talking about, the contact tracing, the way that works, 14 days. So, and I've been told there was, a test or two that came back positive in the last few days. So, you're going to continue to battle this, but they've got players that are beat up right now that they need back. It wasn't just COVID where players were on the sideline last week. It was, some guys in. So, yeah, in the contact tracing on a lot of those defensive linemen will expire, and they'll be able to practice and be good to go. So, yeah, I tell you what, it's going to – there's no guarantees. Yep. It can change several more times before we get to – Arkansas's next game.
I think you'll start to hear a lot more with the schedule and how it's going to play out here in the next few days, and probably when we get back on the air Monday. And I know when we have you on here, we love to talk about the line play, and there was so much out when Arkansas took on LSU earlier this week. But Clay, for everything considered, for the 6 defensive linemen that were out, I know the offensive line struggled a little bit, but showed some glimpses of what they could be.
They had 2 offensive linemen now.
There you go. But with all that considered, though, it could have been much worse on that line for the line play against LSU.
Yeah, I thought those guys held up okay, but what you don't really get a feel for is what they could have done with more experienced players, stunning, blitzing. You just, when you've got young ones out there, don't give them too much. Let's let them play a certain technique and try to do that. And so you're really limited in the calls that you can make for the overall defense, because one thing affects the next. It's chain reaction. So I thought they were pretty vanilla, more so in this game than they have been all season.
Absolutely, completely agree. What do you? You've seen a lot of players recently step up. We talked about it a lot this morning on the Rush, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. Of the Mike Woods, De'Vion Warren prior to his injury, there's been so many players that have stepped up, particularly offensively, to really try to get this offense moving, and they've progressed slowly moving forward. I mean, obviously, maybe a step back against LSU, but Clay, Mike Woods has really stepped up big time. Who are some other players that, in your mind, have really stepped up to make this season a success that has been?
The position that we really talked about a lot back in August and September, it seemed like once a week there would be questions to Coach Pittman about tight ends, and was that going to be a position that you could even put a guy out there? And he wanted more physical blocking. The pass catching, the actual catching of the ball had been inconsistent. They've moving guys over there. Blaine Toll had a fling there. I think Eric Thomas might have had a fling there. And, we've gotten into the season, and Blake Kern and Hudson Henry have done just fine there. Now, they've both battled injuries and, been gimpy a little bit. But, that's another position that, a little bit of time off is really going to do them a lot of good. But I think that position has been involved in more plays that have helped this team than I probably had expected. Mike Woods is a guy that you thought was really a good player and had been inconsistent the last 2 years, but I think a lot of that is inaccurate throws by the quarterback.
Right.
And he's he may have dropped one here or there, but he's been kind of waiting for a quarterback to get on the same page as him. He's gotten open deep some, and they've missed him. But I want to tell you, Franks doesn't miss him. I mean, It seems like he lays it in there perfectly in stride, and then Mike goes and gets it, and then he's able to fight off defenders and really make a lot of yards after the catch.
Is your score in Bud Walton Arena? Razorbacks taking on Oral Roberts. Destiny Slocum, the transfer from Washington. Clay, she is showing out right now. 14 points already for Slocum, 6 of 10 from the field, and 1 of 5 from the three-point line. The Hogs are struggling a little bit, though, from the three-point line. Let's see here, 3 of 14 behind the three-point line. But, Clay, I think when you look at this women's team, the sky's the limit for this team. They got so much returning talent. Mike Neighbors has got to be licking his chops this year with this group of ladies that he has.
Yeah, Chelsea Dungy is she's a little lighter than last year, a little quicker, more like you remember 2 years ago. And I think they're going to go racehorse style. And Slocum is an assist machine. Now, she can do more than score. She will distribute the ball, which is that makes her a welcome addition. They've got scores. Somebody's got to give up the ball every once in a while, and she will. She's a good player.
It's going to be fun to watch. And, again, you can find that on the SEC Network Plus channel. And I know, Clay, me and Maddie were joking with Phil earlier this week when Phil was getting ready for the game. Like you just said, it's racehorse style for how this team will play right now. And I don't know if Phil was up to the task of calling an up and down game the way it's probably going to be for this women's team.
He'll do just fine. He's
like riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we had a text in here.
He can say layup good. There's a steal. He can do that.
He can do that, absolutely. But one quick football question. This comes from Jeremiah in Cedarville. Then we'll move on to a different subject I want to touch on with you. Jeremiah was wanting to know Trey Knox. He had an opportunity with Devion Warren coming out. You're going to see a lot more of Trey Knox, and he had a couple opportunities with this ball game. And we've talked a lot about it this season. Just where has Trey Knox been? A lot of the fans have asked some questions. He had some opportunities to shine, but one of those throws was a Felipe Franks interception. He did have one catch in that ball game, but Clay, I thought I would expect more from Trey Knox with just a golden opportunity to shine on Saturday.
If you look back at the numbers, they didn't throw it that much.
That's true, yeah.
They had to convert a few more first downs and run it a little better. They didn't get into the things that they had, the playlist. They probably used about half of what they wanted to in that game. You just look at the number of plays. He didn't do anything to tarnish his moving forward the rest of the year. I think you'll see him out there, and Franks he just completely botched the play that Trey was open on. He underthrew it, and he said he's supposed to just let him clear that linebacker. The linebacker's moving one way, Trey's moving more to the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. If he waits another second, Trey clears, and it's an easy throw and catch. So, I don't think Trey did anything wrong. So, I saw him make a couple of blocks, so he contributed. They just they need to run it a little better.
Obviously,
that'll get them some more pass plays. Yeah,
lots of room for improvement. I think in these next 2 weeks you'll really start to see. I don't know necessarily the future of this team, but this is a crucial 2 weeks for this football team to really start to set the transition. Whenever these last 2 games get played, hopefully there's a third with the bowl game, but to really push forward to what this offseason is going to look like and really start to transcend where this program's heading into the offseason and looking ahead into next season.
Yeah, I think 2 things. You're going to get some practices next week, especially if they don't play. If they move that Missouri game to the 19th, I think they can work with some of the younger players, and then they're going to get a bowl game, Matt.
Yeah.
There's not any doubt that they're going to play an extra game, and they'll have 2 more weeks of practice for that. It's not like you have a month to prepare. That's the bowl games are going to be the end of December. I think is the way it looks like for me. Most of those bowl games that they would be considered for are in that period. But yeah, we're down to the nitty gritty. I'm surprised they've made it 8 games deep. To be honest with you, with all that's gone on this fall with COVID, it's been bizarre. It's been bizarre,
but like you said, we've persevered through this whole point. You just sent me a picture during the commercial break, and me and Maddie are getting a little bit hungry now when we look at this. So I want to transition this into Thanksgiving, obviously with Thanksgiving tomorrow. But Clay, looks like your smoker's going to be full here in the next few hours or so.
Well, I'm just unthawing things. It's nothing that I have is going to be more than about 3 or 4 hours. I've got 2 whole chickens.
Oh.
And our plan is to eat, I think, around 1 o'clock tomorrow. So I'll get up and get my smoker, fired up and get the charcoal. And I'll have I've got some cherry wood chunks that I'll, soak in a little bit of water and have them ready. So it'll be some mild cherry wood smoke in my Weber bullet. And I'll have on the bottom 2 racks 2 whole chickens, and on the top racks I'll have a rack of baby back ribs, a pork tenderloin, and some Earl Campbell hot links. So that's the plan. And then the ladies will do all the sides and the stuffing and the cranberry sauce, all that kind of stuff, the jelly cranberry sauce. I go for the jelly cranberry.
I'm interested in desserts. What kind of pies are we talking about?
You're doing good right now. So, finish this off. What's the dessert?
I think there'll be several pies. I think a pecan pie, maybe a cherry pie. So, and we'll have some vanilla ice cream. Mm-hmm. So,
now I've yet to hear Jenkins was
Yarnell's homemade vanilla. Yeah,
Jenkins was talking about going home and having some pecan pie. I haven't heard either of you mention pumpkin pie.
So my parents will do. My mama makes a great pumpkin roll. It's not really a pie, but it's got the cream cheese and a whole bunch of other secret ingredients that I'm not supposed to know. But it sounds like to me, Maddie, we should have went up to Clay's house and did the show today with everything with what's happening up there. But Clay,
I think there's some barbecued rice. That's one of the specialty dishes. That's the Arkansas County there.
What is barbecued rice? I don't even know what that is.
Barbecued rice is rice in a casserole dish and has some liquid smoke in there with it. I don't make that, so I don't know the secrets. I just know I like it. And there'll be stuffing. There'll be, I'm sure there's going to be some brown gravy for all the other things. We don't do turkey. We do whole chickens, and they seem to be more popular, and they're a little juicier. They come out of that my smoker pretty good shape as far as juice. And then my seasoning for the chicken comes from Townsend down in Melbourne. It's their magic chick dust, and it is terrific.
I've heard you talk about that several times, whether it be on the Rush or here. So magic, I need to make the trip up there and get some of that.
Dust. It's good for any kind of poultry. Yep.
Absolutely. So sounds like Clay Henry's going to be having himself a great Thanksgiving. I assume
we do all right.
I was going to say you're going to be doing just fine.
How many people are you cooking for?
I think there's going to be 9.
That ought to be enough.
That ought to be enough. It'd be different if me and Maddie showed up. Then that would be.
Let's see. There's only 1, 2. There's only 3 guys. So when you're talking about feeding a bunch of ladies, they don't eat as much as a bunch of guys.
Absolutely.
What is y'all's favorite Thanksgiving side? I would think mine is probably the sweet potatoes.
I don't know, Sarah. What's our favorite side?
See, you bring that up, and he brought it up a second ago. Talk about the cranberry sauce or the jelly.
I like canned cranberry sauce.
I don't get the cranberry sauce.
Oh, it's good.
I mean, I'll eat it. Don't get me wrong, but
it just adds that sweetness to it. Everything.
I've just never understood the cranberry sauce.
A little cranberry sauce with a bite of turkey or chicken.
Then again, it's maybe just more presentation when you get it out of the can. It's got the ripples. It's got the ripples in it.
It adds some color to the table.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Absolutely. Hey, real quick.
Cranberry in a white dish. Yep.
Real quick before we let you go here, I want to get your thoughts on this. Mike Tyson going to be fighting for the first time in, 10, 15, 20 years? I've never personally seen him boxing live. I've seen the reruns on ESPN.
You remember when he bit off an ear?
I've seen him plenty on YouTube. So, and for both of you, I was like, what memories do you have of watching Mike Tyson box?
I remember he was an insane person.
I think it's more like watch out for your ears. He could bite a chunk off of an ear at any time.
He is so tame now. He's like such a toned down Mike Tyson over the last 10 years.
Is he really?
Yeah,
though?
He's like a friendly, laughable character. He used to be scary. Like I'm sure reporters were afraid to ask him certain questions.
Couldn't imagine being in the 90s and you're in the ring with him. I mean, boxing gloves for boxing gloves, and with what you just described, how mean he used to be.
The only thing good about being in the ring with him is that it's not going to last long.
It's not going to last long.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He came at you like a defensive end in the NFL. It was over quick.
Absolutely. Well, Clay, we sure do appreciate you joining us here. Again, I think for me and Maddie T, and obviously Phil, if he's not here with us today, but happy Thanksgiving to you. We're super thankful for all the time, not only just on halftime, but for all that you do for this radio station with all your content. And I know we truly appreciate everything you do. So happy Thanksgiving to you and your
much.
family.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed it. Same to y'all. That's
Clay Henry, the publisher of Hogs Illustrated. He joins us every Wednesday here on halftime from 12:30 to 1 o'clock p.m. We'll have Clay on next week also, and we'll have to recap and make sure that he got all those ribs and whole chickens and everything taken care of.
I'll send pictures. How's that?
There you go. Well, I'll be expecting it.
Send some leftovers.